The Servant Warrior Podcast is a Servant Warrior media production. You are entering the razor-sharp collision of common sense, critical thought, truth, and the blade side of Christian talk and music. This is Unabashed Radio and the Servant Warrior Podcast.
Oh, yeah, man. Welcome to the podcast. You are on with me, Cersei, and I will tell you, this is going to be one for the ages. I already know it. I am on with Shayne Valinsky, the CEO of BrayneAI. You're absolutely going to love for the next hour. We're going to try to keep it to an hour, but who knows how it's going to go. We're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff, but I'm certainly glad to have Shayne on board. If this is your first time on the podcast, welcome. Listen, I don't take for granted you spending your only non-renewable resource right here listening to this podcast. I know there are a gazillion podcasts. By the way, I'm a recovering economist. That is an actual academic term. Gazillion means a ridiculous number. So there's a whole bunch out there, and I figure, hey, why not go ahead, add one more to it? You know what? There's no saturation. That's the great thing about it, the podcast. But I do want to welcome you to the podcast. We're going to talk about a lot of cool stuff today. We're going to talk AI today. We're actually going to get into a little UFC. I'm going to hey, this is going to be a great thing. I don't know if he's done it yet on media, but he is about to vent about UFC and free speech. You're going to love that. That is going to be awesome. We're also going to talk music. I got to get his thoughts on some things that are happening around the country as it relates to these data centers. So as you know, here on the podcast, there is nothing off limits. And so we are going to test the edges of that as we come. Shayne, man, welcome. Welcome to the podcast. Man, so good to have you.
Thanks for having me, Jeff. It's a pleasure.
Man, this is great. And the cool thing is I got to be on their podcast, the Braincast podcast last week. And after it was fun. We were talking before we started recording that if it was just me and Shayne on it, it might never get off. It's just one of those. And, you know, it will go so far off of the topics. I got a feeling he's just like me. I love to chase rabbits. You get me hooked on something, man, I'll chase that rabbit all the way in the hole. And I'll find him. I'll eventually find him. It might take a little while. So, Shayne, tell me about BrayneAI. Tell me and how you got into it, what you got going on, and just where you see things are going. I know that could be that's an open-ended question that could never be answered in the time that we have here. But tell me how you got started, where you came from, and what all you've got going on.
All right, so I guess I'll start at the beginning. I've been a tradesman my whole life. I owned a pool and landscape company and a rebar company and a construction company. And I'm also an avid Andrew Tate fan. So I'm a member of his school called the Real World. And there was one of the very first places where AI courses became available. And the day it came out, I was in there. I was trying to learn AI. I was getting very frustrated because I'm used to working with my hands, and the computers is not really my thing. So it didn't take me long to basically know that I was going to need help, and I was going to need to assemble a team. So I went out and tried to find a team, found some people, some good men to work with, and we built BrayneAI from there.
Well, great. So tell me about your what all does BrayneAI do? Where is the capacity of the platform? What is it really designed for? Because I know that I'm an AI novice. So I think we talked a little bit about that. And the more that I learn, the more that I actually like it, and the more that even scares me on so many fronts that I actually like that. So, but tell me a little bit about what BrayneAI does. Where is this focus? The industry? Where does it help support that? I mean, I know it's so open-ended, but do you have a particular niche that you like to focus on?
Well, as I said, I came out of the trades, so my focus was helping tradesmen automate their inbound leads through AI phone agents, social media, SMS, and recently we've gotten into building custom CRMs, which is a system that runs their whole. So most tradesmen, most businesses, they run like 5 different apps, and they're all disconnected. So we build a custom dashboard that connects everything. We build everything inside one app. So it has tracking your vehicles, tracking your payroll, tracking your invoices, your inbound lead, and all of that all in one place. And I started out focused on the trades industry because that's what I knew. But it has grown to the point now where we're in real estate, we're in dental offices, we're in doctors' offices, we're in vac truck companies, and we're even in a couple driving schools and insurance brokerages. It's just it works for every industry,
Yeah.
and that's one of the benefits of being early. We were very early, so we've been in business now almost 2 years, which makes us pretty much veterans as far as the AI space is concerned.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting we didn't get into that when we talked on the other thing, but CRMs, I am well aware, and how them not being integrated can be an absolute nightmare. Because really quick, back in a previous life, I think this would have been career 3, I think it was, when I was one of the original guys at Wounded Warrior Project, leading up all the fundraising and all the marketing and all the PR and everything else. And really, this would have been 2005. So this is when internet was rocking. There were people starting to figure out how to give money online, and there was that integration. But the world of nonprofits was still all about money coming in the mailbox. And so, as you know, when you got the war on terror going on, you got guys coming back. There's a whole lot of push, and I was actually charged with I had to figure out how we're going to integrate online and offline donations, because there were times I was literally traveling, Shayne, 275 days a year out promoting, and we built a pretty good machine. But I'm in and I'm talking. I'll never forget. I was at the Grapevine, Texas Chamber of Commerce, right there between Dallas, Fort Worth, man, all kind of money, all kind of things going on. And I was talking about it. I thought I was doing great, and I was rocking. And this guy came up to me, and he introduced himself, and I cannot remember his name to save my life, but I remember what he called me, because he called me a very bad name. And I didn't realize, because one, I didn't have any way of trying to preempt where I was going, because I'm always on the road. So I would try to look online. I would try to find out, hey, am I going to a place where some big donors? Am I going to some place where people are doing a lot of stuff? And because then I want to make sure that I don't miss that. Well, come to find out, he had given, like, online, wrote a check for 10 grand, and I didn't know it. He was expecting me to, like, I'm sure, shake his hand and say, thanks so much. And I was good and nice to everybody, but I didn't certainly welcome him the way that he thought. And well, needless to say, this is a family-friendly show. And so he called me something and walked off. I go, okay, we got to figure this thing out. So
Well, now I'm curious. What did he call it? Tell me what it rhymes with.
Let me see. How about okay? There used to be a hamburger chain, Fuddpuckers, right? And that's and so
Okay.
it's similar to that. But he walked off, and it kind of popped me in the face. I said, man, you got to be kidding me! And then I realized, I went back and then I immediately got on the phone, and I'm calling all of my the administrative side, and called my assistant, say, okay, I need you to find out what's going on. And come to find out, he had literally mailed in a check. And so it was not in any kind of the database thing. It was in this, what we call white mail, the stuff and other things that comes in. So I never knew that he dropped 10 grand. And I said, okay. So literally this was Blackbaud, which is Salesforce now. It was Blackbaud before that. It was Kintera before that. And then Kintera was the platform that the website was on. And so literally had to get programmers to integrate programs, offline and online donations, and it was a dumpster fire nightmare. But now it's everything's so automated now, it's crazy. But yeah, he called me a choice name, and he was old country boy too, man. He had boots on, everything, and maybe I blocked his name out because just for to protect the innocent. I don't know, but I completely get it. And man, that is such a big deal. And people, they're spoiled now. Because now they go on and they can see everything in one spot, and you don't realize how important to have everything that you need in one spot until you start looking for it and you can't find anything.
Yeah. Well, most of the companies we're talking to don't have everything in one spot. We're building these systems custom from the ground up, and we're not using Claude code either. We're using custom code, so it's harder to hack, of course.
Yeah, and then that was one of the things where people were, when I would do nonprofit consulting and they would say, well, I'm going to get this custom designed this. I said, well, okay, that's great, but do you know exactly what you're looking for and exactly what you need? Well, we're not quite sure. Then you may not, and this was, talking about 10 years ago, 15 years ago, you may want to hold that investment for your customized system, because you build a custom system that is only proprietary to you and you want it changed. Guess what? Another big investment's coming. And so, and now the cloud services and so many things, now you got so many turnkey things that people can use. But I love the fact that you guys are doing this custom thing. So now because getting hacked and everything else, especially if you're talking about real estate and some of your clients, you don't want people to be able to jump in, because AI is creating opportunities to jump in and find vulnerabilities. And that's one of the big things with Anthropic and some of the other we won't get all into that, but that's certainly one of the things that people are using it for.
And one of the things, to your point, about how, so like people come to us, they think they know what they want, but they don't 100% know. So what we do is we build the whole front end, and then we don't code the back end. Then we present them with the whole front end, and then we give them the opportunity to say, oh, maybe I'm not too sure about this. Oh, I really like that. Maybe we could change this over here. And then we code the back end. And that way they have an opportunity to see it first before they decide to change it. Because once it's all built, like you said, then they're into some money to change it.
Yeah, man, but that is so smart. It's just amazing. When we talked on your podcast, that you and I and our generation have seen over the last 40 years, literally the no internet to some internet to now just wide open, wild, wild west, all within our lifetime. And, it's like riding a roller coaster with the lap bar up, and you got to hold your hands up and everything else, man. And you just hope you don't get thrown out, right?
Yeah.
But
hold
it's
on
just
to something.
Hold on to something. But, and so I wanted to ask you about that. And really and I know this is probably a rhetorical question, but is there a ceiling on what we're looking at from a technological standpoint? I mean, when I was watching, I don't know if you're a big baseball fan, and we'll jump into baseball. By the way, guys, he is a Toronto Blue Jays fan, American League East. I'm here in Atlanta. I'm a Braves kind of, but I'm more of a Red Sox, and we're not wishing hateful stuff on the Blue Jays, but we wish they would just lose a few more. And I wish my Red Sox would win.
We all agree that the Yankees suck.
We 100%. We absolutely agree that the Yankees suck, and I was glad to see them lose a couple of games. But I was watching this cool thing on Netflix. If you haven't seen it, it's called Fastball. It's a documentary about the actual fastball and just the evolution. These, talking about Nolan Ryan and talking about Sandy Koufax and all the guys, and just talking about the difference between 92 miles an hour and 100 miles an hour and all of this. But when we think about how much we love sports, there is a ceiling for fastball. I mean, I guess Captain America or Superman is not coming to pitch anybody. So I think 100 miles an hour, 104, 105, maybe close.
Yeah.
But we're still amazed. But I'm just curious what your thoughts are. Is there a ceiling on what we're looking at from a technological standpoint? And can we handle it? I mean, if there's not, is that something that we have the capacity to handle? And then what do you think is going to be a potential implication for that?
So, in my opinion, the ceiling is coming. It's not necessarily a ceiling. It's AI basically doing everything. Robots will do all the work. AI will do all the thinking. And humans will be kind of out of the loop and out of control. Basically, everything you've seen in Terminator movies from when we were a kid, it's all projections. They're going to have like an AI judge, an AI lawyer argues another AI lawyer, and decisions are made like this. Doctors, lawyers, they're all going to be replaced. The last people to go will be the trades, but the robots are improving every day. And it's just a matter of time before it's just too expensive to pay a human when I can just buy a robot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And and even currency as in the form of money in the future. I see energy as currency.
Mm-hmm.
Whoever controls the energy can control the AI, can control the robots, and that is true currency. Money won't even matter. And that's me personally. I'm investing in solar and in energy and crypto and stuff like this. This is where I'm directing my money and my energy, so to speak. Like I plan to invest in solar farms and stuff like this. I want to have energy as my infrastructure for myself and my family's future.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if we're headed down the road of complete technological control, right? I mean, they little squirrels inside of a habit trail are not going to power all of those things, and that is, we talk about these data centers, which I do want to get your thoughts on what's happening around some of these data centers. But if everything is going to where technology is going to rule everything, well, yeah, you're exactly right. And so if you control the energy, you control the output, because you can control the ability to produce technology and technological output. And so AI is worthless if you can't actually power it. And all of the things, we're on here on a Zoom call here. We're actually producing something. You are somewhere not close to Marietta, Georgia, and I know that. I won't say where you are, but you're not in South Georgia. I'll tell you that. So, but we're able to have a conversation because of technology, and based on the world that you just described, we're going to have a whole lot of energy, and that is. Even with that, what does that look like as it relates to energy grid? Because we're going to have to give up something, man, because, hey, you can't do two things at once. People think we can multitask, but we really can't. But if we want all of this technology, what are we willing to give up?
Well, there is a lot of vacant land out there that's not being used. I don't understand the desire to jam these data centers into cities and towns. The way, like, there's so much land that they could just put it out somewhere where it doesn't affect people so much right now, and it would probably save a lot of the backlash that they're dealing with. But I personally don't think any of our opinions matter. I don't think the people's opinions matter. I think the government's going to do what the government's going to do. And if you don't like it, oh well, write to your congressman and he'll ignore you.
Right. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I did want to talk about it because I came across an article from SoFX. I call it SoFX, but it's SoFX Media, and talking about how the FBI and the Department of Homeland Security are tracking these and what they call anti-tech extremists, afraid and fearful that they're going to be protests and riots and all of these things around, all centered around the data centers. You got eminent domain. We talked a little about that when we were on your podcast, talking about how, government, while they're paying eminent domain, they're invoking that, and people are losing property. Of course, they're getting paid, quote, market value, but market depends on which market you're talking about. I mean, I live on a street where houses are going for, well, $1 million, and you can get them somewhere, probably another place in the country, for a couple $100,000. So the market is really what somebody's willing to pay for it. And I can imagine, I know people are getting a little upset with energy cost and energy usage of water, all the things that are going on around these data centers. But just to your point about the government, if you don't like it, tough, they're going to do what they're going to do. But now you got the government actually tracking and labeling people who are speaking out, free speech, right? And we're going to talk about that as it relates to the UFC. But think about this. I mean, so if I don't want, NIMBY, right, not in my backyard, everybody wants it to happen. They just don't want it in their backyard. And so if we're vocalizing our dislike for a data center to come in, At what point does somebody not get, arrested as labeled domestic terrorists because they're pushing against these data centers? I'm just curious, what are your and now? Okay, so because now with AI, know that that's going to be your growth, your ability to grow, and everything else. And looking at this now that we've got all of this, I guess we would call it. Yeah, technological terrorists. If I guess no can't be eco terrorists. I'm not sure that's, but I'm just curious your thoughts on that. Now you got the government tracking folks using it.
Well, you're going down a rabbit hole here. So
I know.
these
I'll
data
pull you out.
centers are not just there for what we think they're there. They are basically mapping us as human beings. So the AI already runs your algorithm. It controls what you see. It controls to a degree if you're programmed by, I call it the matrix. If you're programmed, the AI controls your thoughts already. It tells you what to think. It tells you what's cool, what to buy, what kind of car you need to drive. It tells women that they need $5,000 handbags and purses. It tells men they need to wear something with a certain name on their shirt or they're not cool. Do you know what I mean? So
Yep.
like we're already being controlled. But now they're gonna have these data centers to store all this and store all this information so that they can predict our next move. And that it's pretty much all about control. And government is always going to overreach until the people stand up. And like we're at a turning point right now in the world, I think, where governments are not doing what the people want them to do, and there's nothing the people can do about it because the people get two options. You can vote this way or you can vote this way, but the
Yep.
same person above is pulling the strings on both sides. So the voting in general is an illusion. You think you're going to vote your way out of something, but it doesn't matter because the same people are always in control, whether it's Canada, whether it's the UK, whether it's the US, whether it doesn't matter. Like we have mass immigration everywhere. So like nobody wants this. Nobody wants what's going on in all these countries. None of the people want it. Only the programmed liberals, maybe. I don't want to. I don't know how far we want to get into that, but it's just these data centers are just the beginning of the end, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, and you probably even saw this that they
I
got
just went way off in the left field there, didn't
no,
I?
hey, no. This is the great thing is, hey, by the way, guys, there's no edits here. You guys know how we roll here. There's no edits. So Shayne did say that I might have to start editing the one we get there, but I don't think so. I think it's going to be great. But I mean, think about this. I think we mentioned it last time, or maybe I was talking to my youngest son about this. Is that now you've got the government now tapping into all of the school bus cameras, wanting to be able to link all those up together so they're able to track actual movements of particular license plates and all of this. I mean, it's all those dystopian movies that we saw back growing up thinking, oh, that can never happen. You know what? Nope. Hollywood's smarter than I thought they were, or at least, I don't know, clairvoyant. I'm not sure what it is, but
They're
it's
not
coming.
smarter than you thought. They are actually controlled by the government. It's called television. It's a vision. It's
Yep.
telling us a vision. And the programs are programming us. So they show us these things ahead of time so that we're not surprised when they happen. It's all part of a bigger plan. Hollywood is all I don't watch TV. I don't watch Netflix. I watch some sports and that's about it. Other than that, I try to create more content than I consume, and that's how I try to combat that. I believe in a lot of self hypnosis and self programming
Gotcha.
through my. I do my. I'm kind of a unique person in these ways because I'm very fearful of programming. I'm unvaccinated. I'll go if I can go there too. They
Yo,
didn't
go,
get
man.
me
I am
with
too.
that one
Hey,
either.
listen, I wasn't going to. I was teaching school, man. I was saying, okay, I might have had to make a decision because
Yeah,
I had no desire to go that route.
no. And
So,
it comes down to it like, okay, Here's a cheeseburger. No, I'm not hungry. Sorry, I don't want a cheese. No, 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 no. Here's a cheeseburger. No, but I'm not hungry. I don't want a cheese. You have to eat this cheeseburger or you can't go to work tomorrow. Like,
Yeah.
come on. Like, there's something going on there. And there's no way I might be a conspiracy theorist, and it probably has saved my life with that kind of stuff. So,
Well, we'll I've got my tinfoil hat that we can pull out too. I mean, because I think there's the thing that people don't like to recognize and don't like to admit is that there's so much truth in conspiracy theories. There's and you know, it's almost that now nothing. I think people are coming closer to recognizing, at least acknowledging the fact that what people, when you hear somebody screaming and all of a sudden they call somebody and says, oh, they're a conspiracy theorist. Now they don't think they're kooky and crazy and all that, because unfortunately now so many of these conspiracies are starting to rear their head and people are seeing the truth around them. So now I think I don't even know, could we even call conspiracy theories anymore? Now it's more of revelation. Now, the greatest solution to a lot of things, Shayne, you and I both know, is light. Man, you turn a rock over and you see all the uglies underneath. Oh, no, let's put the rock back over. Oh, no, no. You've already lifted the rock. You now own everything. And they don't want to lift the rock. Man, that's what all this is going on. We could chase rabbits, man. We could literally be here until for 6 hours talking all the different theories, because I guarantee you there's a whole lot of stuff going on. And when it talks about control and anyway, and control the message and control it.
I have a saying, you can call me a conspiracy theorist or you can just call me right.
Either one. It's call me right now, right? Call me right at this point in time, or you can call me right in the future sometimes, but at some point it's going to catch up. Yeah. And I don't, man, that's that part of, by the way, guys, so if you haven't heard the podcast on my podcast on the Struthonian syndrome, you got to go check it out, or you can go to jeffsearcy.net, read about it. We're talking about it here. Sometimes we just absolutely refuse to accept what is going on. We put our head in the sand. And when we do that in a firefight, man, you get shot in the south end of your northbound direction. So I'd rather keep my head out of the sand. And, and I think Shayne agrees that understanding where we're headed, sometimes I wish I didn't see it. Sometimes I wish ignorance could be a bliss and that I was just walking around and didn't have a care in the world. But unfortunately, if you start to recognize things, you can't really not see what you've seen, right? You can't forget about it.
You can't unsee. Sometimes the people that kind of just, like you say, have their head in the sand, they live a more peaceful, happier life, to be honest, because as guys that actually think and see things coming, we have to consider, okay, how do we protect the people we care about if this happens? Like, my mind goes in 10 different directions to make sure, okay, where are my kids going to be if this happens? So I got to be in a place where I can make sure everything's going to be okay.
Yeah. And matter of fact, my youngest and I were talking about this last night, and I said, buddy, I'm so proud of you the way you think. I'm proud of you that you're thinking and really kind of tearing things apart and really thinking about it. I said, but ignorance is a bliss, brother. So now that you're going to hear it, he goes, yeah, I know, Dad. And so you got that. It's that part of you want to know. And that's one of the parts, Shayne. I don't know if people actually want to know what's going on. People scream they want to know, but I really don't think they want to know what's going on.
I think it would cause them. It would cause a mental break in the fact that they've lived their life under a lie. That because I had to do it. Like, maybe I've always been a little bit outside of the box, but like a few years back, I had to like sit down and really say, like, what am I doing? And that's when the AI thing happened, because I was like, I'm basically a slave. Like, I go to work every day. Yeah, I own the business, but I get like maybe 2 weeks vacation a year. I pay all these taxes. I go to work. My trucks get broken into. My tools get stolen, and it costs me more money in insurance if I make a claim. And this is not a life that I want to live. I want to be able to wake up and walk on the beach. Like, why do we have to pay 50 different taxes. Like you get a tax on gas, you get a tax on your property, you get a tax on your death. Like, why do my
Yeah.
kids got to pay tax on my house when I die? Like, you know what I mean? It's like you have to really look at it as basically they created money to make us a slave. They can print it out of thin air, and we have to go work to survive. So we are slaves to the people who create the money. And I think they had slavery a long time ago, but it was too hard. You have to track down your slaves. You have to make sure they're working hard. You have to feed them. You have to house them. So then they came up with this new system. Let's just come up with money, and we'll give them just enough to buy a house and just enough to eat some food. And then they're our slaves for life. And that's where I started to think, I don't want to live like this. I want to create systems that generate income while I sleep.
Yeah. Well, and we're all underneath that, that those chains, right? Do kind of, chain to whatever. It's funny when I would talk about when I talk government and economics, and I talk to kids, and they go, they want to be their own boss, and I would say, but you realize that is kind of the biggest misconception on the planet. You're not buying from yourself if you own a business. You are selling to somebody, and you have to provide. Welcome to capitalism and free market 101, right? Adam Smith would be very proud that, hey, I got to provide a good or service that you want to buy. Otherwise, you won't buy it. I can have the greatest product on the planet, but if somebody doesn't want to buy it, it doesn't really matter. I love to get into the minimum wage argument. And now we're going rabbit holes, but I got to talk this. But I want to hear UFC, and I want to hear free market. Free speech. But we talk about the minimum wage law. People screaming minimum wage. Blah, blah, blah. Well, hey man, why not go ahead and make minimum wage $500 an hour federally? Oh, and the kids, their eyes get real big. Woo, man, coach, that's awesome. I said, well, great. So the government can create a minimum wage, but what can they not do? All of a sudden, I got kind of the Labrador Retriever, cock the head, the look, and what do you mean? I said, the government can
every business.
The government can tell a business what they got to pay you, but what can they not do? And they thought, then all of a sudden, it was like a light bulb went off. They can't make them hire you. I said, exactly. They hire you because they reach a saturation point that they can't continue to produce an output like they haven't. So there's a reason why they hire you. And if you are not producing for them some type of return, they're going to get rid of you, man. They don't create businesses to give you jobs. Sorry, that's just not the way that it goes. You get a job because you bring value. If you bring no value to it, then sorry. And if you remember out there on the West Coast, man, when McDonald's got rid of all the people who were taking orders and they replaced them with robots, and everybody freaked out. And the McDonald's said, hey, listen, they never call in sick. They never get bad service. They never talk back. They're not rude to anybody. And the left coast went completely crazy on that. And
that's just a matter of time before every business thinks the same way. And it's kind of something that I'm building right now, if you think about it, like AI receptionists. My AI receptionists never have a bad day. They never get tired. They work 24/7, and they are cost a fraction of the cost of what a real receptionist will cost. Yeah. But I don't pitch it that way. I don't pitch it as you don't need your receptionist anymore. I say, now your receptionist is free to do work that'll actually push your business forward. And it's up to the business owner whether or not the receptionist stays valuable enough to stay on. But I try to pitch it in a way that, hey, you don't have to get rid of everybody, but you can automate the work that doesn't really require human effort anymore.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, a dear friend of mine, we went over to their house last week, and he is in the technology realm, and he connected me. He said, you got to read this book. It is The AI-Driven Leader, Jeff Woods. Okay. So I've got it. Actually, I got it right over there on my stand right there. And that's kind of similar to what he's talking about is AI could eventually replace somebody, but it's really designed, if you're thinking about it, to make your decision-making more effective. as opposed to spending all this time trying to collect data and try to figure it out. It's putting all that together for us as leaders and as decision makers to actually make better decisions and not spending time trying to pull everything together. So, yeah, I mean, that's at least I like the fact that you're framing it that way. All right, so I'm sure we'll circle back. We got the rabbits to chase, but I wanted to. We touched on something before. And matter of fact, in the podcast that I was on with you guys, and it's something that I actually did a podcast on. And when I mentioned it and it popped up, it really I felt like it struck a nerve with you, and it was talking about this war on masculinity, and we as guys. Right? When we think about who God has created and called us to be, I mean, called us to be servants, called us to be warriors, called us to be the providers, called us to be the protectors, and to love. And as I read the word, Christ tells me to love my family and my wife as Christ loved the church. In other words, to give literally sacrificially for them, but it was always to protect. It was always to provide. It was always to love and nurture, and the distinct role that men play in the family unit, right? And also, you were talking about your kids and what you're going to have them do, and really how you want to lead them and guide them in the direction you want to go. And I'm curious to get your thoughts, because my personal thought is that there's been such a war on masculinity for so long, and now the repercussions, we are seriously seeing it in these teen takeovers and all of these things that are going on, where when you remove the dad out of the equation, it's almost like that you divide, right? We watch an old Mutual of Omaha Wild Kingdom, right? And you see out on the Serengeti, you see this mass of animals, and they would try the predators would try to divide the prey, and once they did that, man, they were easily picked off. And so I want to get your thoughts, because I think the media and so much of society, there's a war on masculinity, wanting guys to step up, but really afraid for guys to step forward because of what they're afraid that they might create. But the guys are going, hey, listen, that's who I am. I don't know how to be anything else. So based on just we touched on it before on the other podcast, but I want to get your thoughts on that, and I'm just curious on where you see this war on masculinity. What has been the impact in your opinion? What has, especially coming from the trades and especially coming from that side of the economy? I mean, I really want to talk about it. What has been, do you think, the impact on not only the economy, but our country as a whole, society as a whole, and really our families, this war on masculinity?
So I think the war on masculinity is a carefully thought out plan, and it goes back a very long time, because societies without strong men are easy to persuade. If you go back all the way to the beginning of time, it's strong men that band together, that overthrow governments, that change things, that make true change in the world. It's an army or a group of very masculine men that band together. And when this is what they don't want. They don't want men to be in that position. They don't want men to be strong, have muscles, be training, and have opinions. They really don't want us to have opinions. And as long as you have a society where, I'm not saying this to be offensive to women, but women make a lot of the decisions, then they're easier to persuade into getting something like a vaccine. And it's easier to get the whole family to get the vaccine. This is just for instance. Well, I am against vaccines, but that's a whole nother topic. It's easier to get a vote, for instance, out of a woman for a person, because they think more on an emotional level than on an intellectual level. In my opinion, you can really pull on emotional strings with women and with feminine men or non-masculine men. Whereas masculine man will make a logical decision based on what's best for him and his family. And if it's not good for him and his family, he will stand up against it. And that is what they fear the most. And not just one masculine man, it's when you get 1,000 of us or 100,000 of us all sharing the same opinion and marching towards Washington.
Yeah.
And this is how governments can be overthrown. This is how true change can be made. And true change is what the people that are in charge are fearing most, because they want their power. They have their power right now. They want to keep their power. Feminism is how they keep it.
Yeah. And that, I mentioned some of that in the podcast. By the way, if you haven't listened to that podcast, you got to go there, servantwarriorpodcast.com. You can listen on masculinity. And I absolutely agree on so many fronts. But really, when it comes down to it, when you look at the roles of the family unit, right? The good old nuclear family, right? Mom has incredible responsibilities and a role, and that dads, I know we think we're pretty good. We can't hold a candle to mom. It's just the way that it goes. And I 100%, I will capitulate that. And I've got you. I'm great with that. I have my role. My job is to fix stuff.
I think it depends on the mom and it depends on the dad.
Yeah.
In a true masculine feminine relationship, we work together to form a unit that is more powerful than anything individually. But when those roles are confused, that unit is not as powerful or as good as it could be for the family.
100%. And, that the completing each other. I mean, we have our responsibilities and our roles as we were created to be. And, when I look at this, the greatest, when I look at where we are from, what our girls growing up feel like they have to do to gain the desire, to gain the attention, to gain that from guys because it's almost as if we've lost our minds, and now we're putting so much pressure on young ladies because they feel like they got to do so much to gain attention, and those things that I struggle with that, because I think the greatest benefactor of guys stepping up and being who God's created and called them to be are the women in our country, because now it's a matter, there's a respect that I think there's a huge level of respect for the women in our country that is not there, because the guys are just not being who they're supposed to be. And it's almost, we have media and everything else trying to perpetuate what they think the guy's supposed to be, and what we're expecting and what we're desiring of women. And, and that's that part of why it's allowing to go. And per what you said, that everybody has that role and we complement each other. But, I try to instill values, in my boys, and I'm very proud of them. And even despite crazy dad, they've turned out pretty good, and they're good young men. They treat people well. They treat ladies with respect and all. And I think the more that genuine masculine men would step forward and really be who it is that we've been created to be, now all of a sudden women are treated better. The expectation of what women are supposed to do, what they think they're supposed to do, is not that we're not asking for that. We want to take care of them. I mean, and it has nothing to do with their inability, as the fact that, hey, I just don't think you should have to. I don't let my wife carry the stuff in. Not that she can't. I mean, she's super strong. I mean, she works out. She could do her stuff. I just don't think she should have to. And it has nothing to do with capability. It's just that's just who I am. And we talk about leadership. That the world is, and especially here in our country, they're screaming for leaders, but they don't want leaders to step forward, because you just described what happens when a guy steps forward. And it's not that the whole line stepped back, right? Then that you got a line across, and if you want to volunteer, you step forward. It's not that everybody stepped back and you're stuck there. That's everybody's take. They want people to step forward. But I think they're really scared to death with guys stepping forward, because that means, one, they've got a purpose. Obviously, there's not something that's going on that they like. They want to defend something. They want to move forward. And we think about where we are as a country. our country was built on a whole lot of things, and a whole lot of it was guys stepping forward and exactly what you said of, hey, this, I want to do this for my family. This is what we need to do. I need to, I am called to protect. Think about the men, think about the guys that go and put on a uniform and stand in a gap and ensure that you and I can have this conversation in a free country and live in a country, so again, I was always curious about how other guys, especially very successful guys who have stepped forward, seeing a need and meeting it, talk about true economics 101, capitalism 101. Hey, listen, there's a need. I see a need. I'm going to do what is necessary to meet that. Okay, and that's what we're screaming for, but I think we're afraid to get that because we don't know how to handle it. That's just my humble opinion. And I think that when we're looking at where we are as a society, we wouldn't have a lot of issues. When you take dad out of the equation, dads have such an impact of the family unit, and you remove dad, and all of a sudden now kids are going to try to figure it out. Single parents can't be both parents. It's been possible. And the pressure to try to raise children now in the age of, where's my phone? Age of this phone. And that unfortunately, man, this is the thing that's raising most of our kids.
Yep, sure is. It's social media. And these young girls, like you said, these young girls now, they have this image of what a man should be by looking at certain men online. And young boys, they're basically left to feel like they're nothing because the girls that are their age don't want them. They want a man. And it never used to be like that, right? When we were kids, we could date a girl our age and get married and have a family. But now the girls, they see these others because they see everything. They see the Lamborghinis, the yachts. I like to compare it to chess. So the queen can jump all the way across the board in one move, but the king can only move one space at a time. You see these women on yachts. A man had to buy that yacht. The young girls don't buy the yachts. You know what I mean? So it's just that they've basically disrupted our entire what we were intended to be through social media, through expectations, through giving these young girls these unreasonable expectations of what a man needs to be, because they don't want the electrician anymore that works with his hands, because he can't buy her a Gucci purse and get her nails done every week and fake ass eyelashes and whatever else bullshit that she wants. Sorry.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it all to me, it comes down to programming once again. They're programming these kids, the young boys. Men are born with no value. We have to go out and create value for ourselves. But a woman is born, if she's pretty, with a ton of value. She can go shake her ass on Instagram and become a millionaire. You know what I mean? It's not the same world that we grew up in anymore. It's just not that way. And it's a shame, but it's the world we live in now, and it's how we have to handle it. And we got to raise these boys to understand that they can go out and be whatever they choose to be through work, because you could be a millionaire electrician. You can do that. It's 100% possible. There's lots of them out there. But you got to direct yourself in today's day and age in a direction that makes sense. Like, to me, spending 4 years right now to be an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor, I think is a complete waste of time. I would not recommend my children to do it, personally, because I think AI will take all those jobs by the time you're done school.
Yeah. And
So you have to be able to see the direction of where the world's going and say, okay, am I better suited partying and drinking for 4 years and then doing 2 years of grad school? Or am I better doing a 1 year apprenticeship and then starting to make money and build a business? You know what I mean? You got to be realistic when you're looking at the world the way it is today. And the parents need to be realistic too and say, look, it's just, every parent wants their kid to be a doctor or a lawyer or one of these things, but that's not the go-to, and in the future, that's not going to be like there's going to be so many more graduates than there are jobs. Like there's still going to be the high-end doctors, the great surgeons. Like, you know what I mean? They're still going to be needed for a while. But like the average everyday, like they're right now in China, there's robots in a train station that are doctors. It's a little kiosk in a train station that you can go in, you can do a mouth swab, you put it in, you describe your symptoms, and it spits out a prescription for you right there on the
Man.
spot.
Wow.
So it's up to the parents to understand that the world that their kids are growing up in is not the same world. And to me, anyway, 4-year university, when you can learn everything you need to learn on YouTube for free. You I learned that, like I learned construction from watching YouTube videos. Nobody taught me things. I built my first waterfall into a pool by what I learned framing by watching YouTube videos. Like YouTube is a very valuable and underrated asset.
Yes, it is. It's amazing how I broke a whole lot of stuff and had to go to Ace Hardware, right? Because Home Depot wasn't around there. I did a whole lot of trial and error as it goes. And I will tell you, man, we could really jump in because I have an entire theory about higher education, and I use that term very loosely because I question whether that a lot of it truly is higher education and what
I
the
think it's a
overall goal
scam.
is. I think that it certainly creates a whole lot of people in debt, and all of a sudden, now we talk about student loans, and I've got them. I got them to go back and to teach, to get a teaching certification. I mean, I got 2 degrees and all, and it's just
And
amazing
Jeff,
now. It's a
what
different
does the
world.
debt do? The debt
Yeah.
ensures that you live a slave life. That's
Yep.
what the debt's all about. So they encourage you, go to school, take out a loan. Then they say, oh, you graduated school, you got to buy a car, more debt. Oh, now you got to get a house if you're lucky enough to afford it. That then they own you. You have to go to work now every day for the rest of your life because you can't afford to quit that job. Whereas like you could reasonably go on YouTube, learn how to use AI, move across the world like I did, live in the Philippines. I pay $200 a month rent. I eat for maybe $200 a month. You know what I mean? I live for next to nothing here, and I make a lot of money online. So and then I have freedom. I like next week I'm going to Germany. After that, I'm going to Prague. After that, I'm going to Amsterdam, like on a little tour. So like I have freedom, and it's not because of any piece of paper that I wasted for it. And not only that, Jeff, but how much value do you like? What do you actually learn in these colleges these
I
days?
know.
Because the information is changing so fast. By the
Yep.
time you're done a 4-year course, it's all wrong.
Yeah, listen, 100%, and I think that's when we talked about the ceiling of technology, and if that's where we get all of our information from, if we're getting everything from here and it's changing so fast, what we're learning becomes obsolete in a matter of months. And if you get a textbook, I mean, think about the textbook that you had to have, how long it actually took, how long you kept it. So, I mean, sometimes you look, maybe if I'm going to ask you to go all the way back in your mind and jump into a time machine, go back to middle school. Okay. You've got this monster textbook, right? And we got a couple of them. You
My
open
dog
it
ate
up and
mine.
you see like 7 names. Means that thing, not only did it take time to print it and then produce it, and then the school system bought it, but now it has been in this school for at least 7 years, because I got 7 names in this, and I'm about to write 8th name that I've checked this book out. I mean,
Because the whole here's another theory I have too on college and university, and it goes back to masculinity because they want boys at that age, because that's when if we're gonna do anything like radical, it's that age when we're just crazy enough. They want to waste your time because like if you actually just stepped out and you weren't in university, you look around at this world and see, wait a minute. Why is my government sending $8 billion to Ukraine? What, like, I'm not Ukraine. Like, what is this all about? Why are they taking my money and sending it over here and over there? when we got potholes on my street, you know? And at that age, that's when boys and men, like, that's when we used to go to war when we were young, you know, like,
Yeah.
or 100 years ago. Like, that's the age when the kid and boys would sign up because I want to fight someone, you know, like I want to fight, you know, like it's kind of ingrained in us. So they want to waste your time. So, and then make sure you come out in debt, and make sure that, and another thing about school, if you think back in high school, I can't think, other than length times width, I can't think of one thing that, like, I never used algebra. I don't, what's the Pythagorean theorem? Like, what the hell is this shit that they're teaching? Sorry. The stuff that they're teaching these kids is useless in the real world. It's
Yeah.
just, they want to create slaves. They want to create workers. Put your hand up. Ask to go to the bathroom. The lighting is like a prison. The no colors on the walls. You know, nothing interesting. Pay attention. Do what you're told. There's only one way to solve a problem. That's not reality. You
Yep.
have to show your work, and you have to do it this way, or it's wrong. Like, they're teaching kids to be obedient workers, not free thinkers.
Yes, you hear often that I'll say critical thinking is in critical condition, and common sense is not so common. They want free thinkers, but they don't want any part of that because free thinkers create more questions. And unfortunately, a question usually requires an answer, not another question, and they don't want to answer it. People don't want to answer it. So, man, there's no doubt that we could literally spend, because you hit on topics that I've actually written about. We could literally spend 17 weeks just chasing down all these theories. But you mentioned something before: free speech. And I want to give you a platform here on the Servant Warrior podcast, because you mentioned about UFC as being sports guys and coach, and they said, "Hey," you said, "Jeff, are you follow UFC? Tell me the soapbox is yours, my friend, to
All
exercise
right.
your First Amendment free speech without any repercussions here. Okay, have at it, go,
Well,
because you're a fan of UFC, and I love free speech too. So fire away, go ahead."
I am a huge Sean Strickland fan. Now, the fact that the UFC and the American government is going to ban the American middleweight champion of the world from attending the White House event of the UFC because of exercising his own free speech and his opinions on this government and Israel in particular is pathetic, and it's un-American, in my opinion. They're going to have champions from every other country, but not an American champion with a real opinion that matters to Americans and to I'm Canadian actually, but it matters to me. Like, the things Sean Strickland says, yes, he is a little out there. He goes a little far sometimes. I'll admit it, but that's what I love about him. He's not one of these guys that holds back. He says what he thinks, and I thought that that's what America was built on, and apparently it's not. Because if you say an opinion that contradicts what the government wants you to say, or even, heaven forbid, goes against the government and what they're currently doing, and going into a war on behalf of another country that really has nothing to do with America, then you're banned. And I think this is just a disgusting display. I made a video about it on my own. I posted it on my own social media. It had Sean Strickland in it. I called Sean Strickland to win the fight over Kamzat. I bet on him. It was a great bet. He made me some money, because the odds were heavily stacked against him, as they always are. And I love the underdog. And I think Sean Strickland, I think America should stand up, and Sean Strickland should be allowed at this event.
Wow. Well, we talk about free speech, and this I'm 100% a fan of free speech, and I think that there is that's a circumstance and a situation where kids and people say all the time, well, I have free speech. I can say whatever I want. Sure, you absolutely can say whatever you want anytime. You are free to say whatever you want. You're also free to accept what are the repercussions that come from you saying whatever it is that you want to say. And I think that is the part that a lot of times that we have issue with. It's the issue with somebody want to say something, that's fine, but are you sure you want to say that? Why? Because if you say that, then there's a pretty good chance this will happen. And I think that's that matter of we've kind of lost the ability to have what I call intellectual courage, to actually have a conversation with somebody who disagrees, who has a different perspective, a different opinion, a different ideological belief, a different cultural belief, a different that goes against what I believe. Now, nobody likes to be told that you're wrong or they think that you're wrong or whatever it is. But we've lost the ability, Shayne, to actually have a conversation with somebody that disagrees with us because we have been created and programmed, like you said, to cancel that person. Oh, I don't want to watch that video, so I'm going to scroll by it. Even though that video could actually teach me something that I absolutely need to learn, I don't agree with that, so I'm not going to watch it. I'm not going to do anything. And so I love the fact you brought it up, and as a Canadian, what did Taha call? Did he say China? Is that what he said? I think he says something about. Anyway, I don't want to get into that one. They might kick
More
me out.
India than anything, but
it's crazy. But so you bring that up, and I think that's a huge deal. I really do, and not that I'm against anything or for anything. The government, God love them. Sometimes they can't get out of their own way. I know that I'm going to be a recipient of sometimes they're crazy, the things that they go on, and I see what's coming. And I see it, and it drives me crazy. But I also understand that there's the fact that if we can come to a point, right, even on this and everything else, where we're not canceling somebody, we're not calling somebody a moron, we're not calling them names, we're not trying to literally run them over, shoot them, whatever it is, blow up their house because they have a different opinion than I've got. At some point, we've got to rein this thing in to say, hey, listen, there is a 100% chance the person that you are going to go through life and come upon people who disagree with you, 100%. And it might happen 500 or 600 times a day, depending on how many people you talk to. So what are you going to do? You're going to disagree with everybody, or you jump into your vacuum, group think safe room to have a conversation with somebody. And I think that's what culture, and I think that's what the media, and I think that's what so many people want. Because they don't want anybody challenging the norms and challenging the status quo. They wanted to say, hey, be quiet, do what I tell you, don't go against it. And if you don't like what I say, then you can just find somewhere else to be. Well, wait a minute. I can speak my mind. Sure, you can. You can say whatever you want to. I'm just not listening to you. Interesting.
I think in America, anybody can have an opinion on anything, but if you're important, meaning if you have people that live, I don't want to say important, if you have influence, then they try to control your opinion. You're not allowed to say certain things about certain governments out there in the world. You're not allowed to speak against the American government. You're not allowed to speak against Israel. And you have to toe the line, so to speak. And the biggest thing that the government and the media likes to do is division. As long as we're fighting each other, we're not looking up at what they're doing and how much money they're stealing. Because really, government, their main job is just to steal. That's all. That's what they want to be government for. They don't want to do good things. They're there to steal as much money as they can to control markets. You can't tell me Trump talks all this shit about Nancy Pelosi and her inside trading, but he can make the crypto market go crazy with one tweet, and he bets on it before he does. Maybe not him, but his sons certainly do. So that's a whole nother topic for another day.
Yeah, that is certainly a rabbit hole that we could go down. But again, I think it's that part of when we look at one of the things that I teach as a part of when I do professional development and do some other things of how to create a lot of time classroom environment that you can actually have conversation and really touch on those super hot topics that everybody says, oh, you can't talk about that in the classroom. Well, where else are they supposed to learn? If you're going to let them learn out in the community somewhere, there's no telling what might happen. But that everybody's perspective is infinitely valuable because everybody is infinitely valuable. God doesn't place a value. You're more important than somebody else. You're different than them. So everybody's got their own opinion. And I think the more that we might not like it, but it doesn't mean that doesn't have value. And so just because I disagree with you, great. My job is to take something that I disagree with, because in intellectual courage, one of three things will happen. You and I both know this. One, if I hear something that I don't agree with, it will solidify my understanding and my perspective, because I can honestly say, if I give it absolute objective, you go ahead and say it. I'm not going to form an opinion. I want you to share what you believe. And after you share it, and if I give it an absolute, just 100% objective, I give it credence that I may. And I go, you know what? Thank you for sharing. I tried to open up. I absolutely, emphatically even disagree with you more, but now I understand you better. So one, it will actually allow you to substantiate and support your own position. Two, it might cause you to question it. You know what? Maybe I never thought about that. Maybe I'll think that. Or, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to do some more research on mine, because now that you said that, I never really thought of it that way. So now all of a sudden, I broaden my own perspective.
That's the best answer.
That is it. That is the best answer. Or the third one is, wow, you know what? I absolutely have had it wrong the entire time. Now, number three, you and I both know that's not going to happen, because nobody likes to admit that they're completely wrong. But I'm hoping
I have in a number of cases.
Oh gosh, I mess up more than 5 o'clock.
I'm an avid person of reassessing my own opinions on things, and I do a ton of research before I even form an opinion. Yeah. I like to get 10 different perspectives and then see which one makes sense. One way I usually form opinions is if the media says it, I am the opposite.
Sure. Well, that certainly gives a direction, but I think that's important, and that's that we live in such a soundbite, 30-second, gospel and gospel, not and my Jesus Christ gospel, but the gospel of somebody said it, and I read the byline, or I read whatever it is, the headline, and I'm going to believe that's true. No, you know what? People are really good at bearing the truth, because the truth is in everything. It's just sometimes it's just like this much. Of this much that you read, there's only this much truth in it, but we're not willing to do that. But we'll take that 30 seconds and we'll call it truth. And you play damage control trying to change it, and you can't. So people know that. That's why they got 2-minute read? Like an article will pop up online, it'll say 2-minute read. Oh, I think I'll read that, because God forbid, if it takes me more than 5 minutes, I probably don't want to waste time reading it. Right? That's the mentality that we've got. Anyway, all right.
You don't even have to do that anymore. What I do is I go to Claude. First I'll go to Grok. I'll say, Grok, do all the research you can on Twitter on this topic. Then I'll go to Claude and say, do all the research you can on Google and online on this same topic. Then I'll put them both together and I'll figure out where the truth lies, because you could find the truth between Twitter and Google usually, because Twitter is like millions and millions of people. You can get all different opinions, and then Google has guardrails, right? So Google can only tell you certain things. It's under control. That'll tell you what Twitter I find you can get a lot more truth from Twitter than you can from anywhere else, because they don't have so much control. Like, they can't control what I say on Twitter.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy how social media has become the same place that we inevitably would admit that a large majority is not true. A large majority is fake. How much truth actually exists. And now the impetus is on us to do exactly what you said, to go, hold on, before I actually say that I believe that, or I am going to then tout that particular perspective as being true, I probably want to make sure that I can explain why I think the way that I think. What is it? Because that's what happens, man. People borrow an opinion. They borrow a perspective from somebody else. And somebody like you or me will say, hey, little Johnny, why are you thinking that way? And then
Doesn't
if he
make
says,
sense.
well, he'll say, well, because they think that way. And I go, well, okay, why do they think that way? And if they can't answer, they don't know. And all of a sudden
Right.
now, little Johnny, no offense, little Johnny, all the little Johnnies out there. I'm just saying that's now you feel like you're incapable of supporting your own beliefs because you just didn't do enough work to actually for you to determine do you actually believe it? Not,
Yeah.
and if you believe something that somebody else believes, great. But let that just be because you have both determined individually that that's what you believe, and that fact that you actually believe that same thing. Now you can actually talk and have some conversation. You're not believing something because somebody else. But you and I both know the media banks on influencers and people influencing other people to believe the way that they want you to believe.
Yep. And
That's the way it
that's
works.
one of the main reasons why I followed Tate is because they canceled him everywhere. The media completely turned on him and they canceled him off Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, banned him from everything. And I was like, wait a minute. If they're banning this guy from everything and
Who is that?
canceling him, Andrew Tate,
Oh, okay.
then there must be some kind of dangerous, there's something dangerous behind what he's saying. And then when he was actually acquitted on all charges, and I could see that all the evidence was, there was no evidence to begin with, then it really started to all make sense that, hey, they really are afraid of what he says. And it's how his influence over the youth, the young, the desire to make the young guys go out and go to the gym. Learn how to make money online. Don't live a slave life inside the matrix. That's what they feared the most about him, and that's why I liked him.
Wow. Well, man, listen, Shayne, it has been we could talk forever. I mean, really, kid, because I love to pick your brain because I love to hear the response because I know I'm going to get raw. I know I'm going to get genuine. I know that there's no pretense to it, and that's why I love doing this podcast and I love talking to guys like you because listen. I'm the ultimate WYSIWYG, and what you see is what you get. I don't have time. I can't make stuff up because I can't remember what I did last week. So much if I keep making stuff up, the truth is so much better anyway. I get tired trying to be something that I'm not or say something for some type of agenda or whatever it is. Hey, listen, it is what it is. The world is where it is. Either be a part of it, recognize it, or get run over by the bus. That's just what's going to happen. And when you get run over by the bus, if you didn't see it coming, that's on you. That's
Yep.
kind of the way that. But one, how can somebody, if somebody wants to follow, give me the information so they can go check out BrayneAI. Okay, and how do they follow you individually? Because I got a feeling people want to follow.
I'm Shayne Valinsky on all socials, and BrayneAI.com is Brain is spelled Brayne, just like my name Shayne, Shayne. So that's don't look up BrayneAIN because you won't find us there. But you can also go to BrayneAI.com/demo and you can talk to your very own custom phone agent within 60 seconds. You enter your website and your phone number, and an AI agent will call you back within 60 seconds, already programmed to your business.
Man, that is impressive. And now all of our administrative assistants are now freaking out and now trying to look on and to do something else. Shayne Valinsky, CEO, BrayneAI. Buddy, thank you for hanging out. I'm truly grateful for your time because I know you're ridiculously busy and you got a lot of stuff going on. And I appreciate you hanging out. One, we didn't get to baseball. That Shayne is an avid baseball guy, and I love the fact that we could talk baseball. We didn't talk music. We'll have to do that next time. He's a '90s. He loves the '90s grunge. He's a Seattle kid, loves that Soundgarden stuff, and I'm an '80s glam rock guy. We don't like the grunge because
Nirvana.
there we go. Kurt Cobain. They killed. Listen, it killed my '80s. It killed because everybody in Seattle mad. They're angry. the sun never shines in Seattle. Not
I'm
even on the
also a big
Seahawks.
Michael Jackson fan, though, too. So there's that. There's a little bit of an alternative there.
I'm not okay. I'm not chasing that rabbit, brother. I'm just not going there. I'm gonna let you go ahead and think of Thriller. Hey, listen, I give credit where credit's due. Michael Jackson was ridiculously talented, kooky, and then some, but ridiculously talented, as was Prince.
For another show, though, he was actually trying to save those kids. That's why they called it Neverland. Never go to the island.
Oh, man. Okay, that was a tee up, and if you missed that one, I don't need to explain the inference or explain that you just teed that thing up. We will definitely have to hit that one, because that's a conversation, man, that could get us both in trouble. But it's a conversation that absolutely needs to happen. Well, listen, Shayne, again, thank you. All the best. I'd love to circle back. I'd love, and if it's okay, I'm going to reach out to you. Just kind of get your idea where things are going, because I always like to talk to people who are smarter than I am, who are seeing things that are going on, who are doing things that I would like to do, or at least have an understanding about. Because I'm pretty good at some things, but you find the right people, you get the right people on the bus, get perspectives of the right people. It helps you solidify yours, and it points you in the right direction. And it also gives people a place that they can go, because I think there are a lot more people that think like you and I than the other. But unfortunately, the other has a huge platform that they can scream to the masses. And sometimes the folks who think like you and I just say, you know what, I don't even want to play. The game is not worth playing. It's not worth my time. But you and I both know, if we allow it to happen, we are just as guilty by not stepping up and stepping in that gap.
100%.
All right, brother. Hey, listen, well, we're going to get out of here. So again, thanks for hanging out with me and hanging out with Shayne here on the Servant Warrior Podcast. Make sure you go check out servantwarriorpodcast.com for a lot of past episodes. Also, you got to check out my radio show, Unabashed Radio. You can go to unabashradio.com. It's actually on our brand new home, Warrior Voices Radio. You got to go to warriorvoicesradio.com and listen to some of the best music on the planet. But definitely every Tuesday, 8 o'clock Eastern, Unabashed Radio. It is life-changing, actually, music that will peel paint off the walls. It will sling stuff off shelves, and it will melt your face if you get close to the speakers. But it's all proclaiming the gospel, and it'll change your life, I promise you, and it'll definitely connect you with the one who will. All right, so until next time, keep it real, radical, relentless, and relevant. It's the only way to go. And remember, the only true freedom exists in and through Jesus Christ. So from the Servant Warrior Studios here in beautiful Marietta, Georgia, I will see you next time. God bless you. Keep rocking. This is the Servant Warrior Podcast. Percy out.
The Servant Warrior Podcast is a Servant Warrior media production.